Some trips are meant for learning, but no one is ever prepared for what they're about to face. The following 3 stories are real experiences shared by those who still carry the haunting memories to this day. If you've ever believed that a field trip, a sightseeing tour, or a night at camp is all about fun, listen until the very end. Because sometimes, the scariest thing isn't hiding in the dark, it's lurking right among the people around you. Story 1. The Hidden One in the Swamp. Back in 7th grade, we had a field trip to a swamp on the outskirts of town to study the saltwater ecosystem. Honestly, no one was excited. The weather was sweltering, the air reeked of rotten mud, and we had to trudge around on decaying wooden walkways, peering through binoculars in search of marine life. I was paired with Jordan, my best friend at the time. And of course, like always, we wandered off on our own. Once we saw that Ms. Stern and the other teachers were a good distance ahead, we looped back and turned onto a narrow path marked with a big sign, "Restricted Area, Town Personnel Only." The more forbidden it was, the more curious we became. The path was much narrower, flanked by towering reeds on both sides, rustling as the wind whistled through them. The mud below stank even worse. At one point, we passed a small, dilapidated shack, the door locked tight, and a sloppy warning scrawled across it, "Keep out." Naturally, that only made things more exciting. But youthful excitement never lasts long. After a few turns, a few bends, we realized we no longer remembered the way back. At first, we laughed, thinking it was just part of the adventure. But as the sun began to dip lower, a creeping chill crawled up our spines. Jordan was the first to admit it, I think. We're lost. We tried retracing our steps, but the shack was nowhere to be found. The reeds now felt like living walls blocking every line of sight. No phones, no voices, just the sound of the swamp's slow squelching, inviting. Then, we heard footsteps in the water. Light. Distant. Like someone wading through the shallow marsh beneath the walkway. Jordan froze. He whispered, "Did you hear that?" We picked up our pace. The splashing sound stayed behind us. Closer now. No flashlight. Only the last faint glow of sunset. We stopped. Silence. And then shh! A sudden rustle in the reeds. Jordan snapped. He dove into the grass, pushing it aside. And the next second he screamed. A raw, blood-curdling scream unlike anything I'd heard before. I never saw what he saw, but I saw his face, eyes wide and white breath caught in panic, and I didn't need to ask. We turned and ran, hearts pounding like war drums. The splashing didn't stop. It followed us. At one point, I swear I felt a breath behind my neck, damp and heavy. We ran until our lungs burned. And then overhead we heard a chopping sound, a helicopter sweeping low, its searchlight cutting across the swamp. When that beam of light passed over me, I turned back and saw a figure at the end of the walkway, standing still, motionless, unblinking, and then gone as the light hit it. The helicopter's spotlight didn't come down to rescue us like we'd hoped. It simply hovered, marking our position. Minutes later, the rescue team reached us. Our faces pale, our bodies trembling. We told them someone or something had followed us, hiding in the grass. But no tracks were found. Only the truth: Ms. Stern had forgotten to do a head count before the bus left, and it had driven away without us. That day, we saw something that doesn't belong in this world. Something hidden in the swamp. Patient. Silent. And I know for certain, it never left. Story 2. The Man in the Top Hat. There are certain eyes you should never look back at. Our senior trip to Boston was supposed to be a fun memory. We were assigned to follow the Freedom Trail, visiting historical landmarks for our American history class. But for the 3 of us, me, Sean, and Matt, It was just an excuse to break off from the group and wander the city. After stuffing ourselves at the Boston Harbor, we made our way to Quincy Market, then casually detoured into Granary Burying Ground, where old moss-covered graves stood beneath trees so dense they barely let sunlight reach the ground. I wasn't really paying attention to the tombstones, but then I felt a chill from the stare of a man standing not far away. He wore a long charcoal coat, a top hat, and had thick gray mustache whiskers that covered almost all of his mouth. What terrified me was this: he didn't move. He didn't walk around like the other tourists. He just stood there, staring straight at me. I quickly looked away and tugged my friends to leave. But just minutes later, as we were walking back toward the rendezvous point, I saw him again, standing at the end of the street behind us among the crowd, with the same blank eyes and emotionless face. I whispered, How did he get there that fast? At Quincy Market, I spotted him again, this time across the street, standing like a statue. And when I tried to point him out to the others, he was gone. As if he only appeared when I was looking. That night at the hotel, I had a dream. I was at home, hiding under the bed, too afraid to breathe. And then, a pair of black shoes appeared just beyond the edge of the bed. I held my breath. The face of the man in the top hat leaned down, staring at me through the gap beneath the bed frame, eyes without whites. I screamed and jolted awake. I was drenched in sweat. But it wasn't over. From the dark, I heard a soft click, like someone stepping into the bathroom. I sat up, panicked, and shook Sean and Matt awake. Neither of them had heard anything. Only I did. Years later, during a Christmas visit, I was flipping through an old photo album with my grandparents and froze. In one black and white photo, there he was. The hat, the mustache, that same exact face. I pointed at the picture, barely able to speak. My grandparents looked at it and said, "Oh, that's your great-grandfather. He passed away in Boston many years ago." I didn't say another word, but from that day on I started to believe. Some memories aren't yours to keep, yet they still find their way back to you. Story 3. A Night in Alcatraz Prison. Not all inmates ever truly left this place. It was November of 9th grade when my Boy Scout group got a rare opportunity to spend the night inside Alcatraz Prison, the isolated island fortress in the middle of San Francisco Bay, once home to the most dangerous criminals in America. We arrived late in the afternoon. The sun bled red across the jagged stone walls. The air was cold, heavy, as if every brick carried something unnamed. As darkness fell, our guide took a small group of us through the execution chamber and the old hospital once housing the mentally disturbed. In the execution room, my friend Ash and I were immediately hit by a stench, sharp, nauseating like rotting meat. No one else smelled it. The silence was suffocating. Old stains on the floor still looked fresh. In the hospital, I heard whispers, clear, repeating like a lullaby in a raspy voice. The lights flickered. Ash gripped my hand tightly. The guide said one inmate here had whispered to himself until the moment he died. Around 3 a.m., Ash asked me to walk with him to the bathroom. I waited outside. I heard water running, the rustling of toilet paper. Then a loud slam, one of the stall doors banging shut. I called out, "Ash." No answer. Then a burst of laughter erupted, twisted, off rhythm, like it was choking underwater. I turned to run, and Ash stepped out from behind the door. He hadn't even washed his hands. So, who was inside that stall? When I told him, he went pale. He asked in a low voice, then, who was breathing outside the stall? We sprinted back to the cell block, saying nothing to anyone. But I knew. The night wasn't over. About an hour later, I woke up to the sensation of something touching my back. Slowly. Cold as ice. I turned around, no one. But in the corner of the room sat a figure. Head tilted to the side. Face hidden in shadow. I screamed. Our scoutmaster rushed in and turned on the lights. The room was empty. But on the back of my shirt, a clear, wet handprint. Like someone had just been holding me. I've never gone back to Alcatraz. But on silent nights, I still hear the whispers. Soft. Right behind me. 3 stories. 3 moments that those who lived them will never forget. Whether you believe them or not, the scariest part wasn't what they saw, but the chilling realization that they were never truly alone. Have you ever experienced a moment like that, one that sent a shiver down your spine? If you have, don't hesitate to share it with us. Thank you for listening. We'll see you again on another night with stories that might just make you flinch when you hear them again in the dark.